Good morning. I'm Stephen Leake. I'm an elder with First Presbyterian Church in Mesquite, Texas, and I'm also the teacher of the Discipleship Sunday School class there. Today we're continuing with our study of the Gospel of John. Last week we began to study the treachery of Judas, who betrayed Jesus. And this week we're going to delve more into that. But first, I'd like to remind you that our curriculum is based upon the Daily Bible Study Series by Professor William Barclay, and that we're using the New Revised Standard Version of the Bible for our scripture readings. We just have one scripture reading today, but it's full of drama. It is John 13, verses 21 through 30. After saying this, Jesus was troubled in spirit and declared, "Very truly, I tell you, one of you will betray me." The disciples looked at one another, uncertain of whom he was speaking. One of his disciples, the one whom Jesus loved, was reclining next to him. Simon Peter therefore motioned to him to ask Jesus of whom he was speaking. So while reclining next to Jesus, he asked him, "Lord, who is it?" Jesus answered, "It is the one to whom I give this piece of bread when I have dipped it into the dish." So when he dipped the piece of bread, he gave it to Judas, son of Simon Iscariot. After he received the piece of bread, Satan entered into him. Jesus said to him, "Do quickly what you are going to do." Now, no one at the table knew why he said this to him. Some thought that because Judas had the common purse, Jesus was telling him, "Buy what we need for the festival," or that he should give something to the poor. So after receiving the piece of bread, he immediately went out, and it was night. There's a great deal of drama in this scene. We see the treachery of Judas at its worst. He must have been the perfect actor. If the other disciples had known who Judas really was, he never would have been allowed in that room. All the time, Judas must have been putting on an act of love and loyalty which deceived everyone except Jesus. He was not only a villain, he was a suave hypocrite. Now, there's a warning here. By our outward actions, we may deceive other people, but there's no hiding things from the eye of Christ. And there is more to this story. When we understand what was happening, we see appeal after appeal by Jesus to Judas. First, there were the seating arrangements at the meal. The Jews did not sit at the table, they reclined. The table was a low, solid block with couches all around it. It was shaped like a U, and the place of the host was in the center. They reclined on their left side, resting on the left elbow, thus leaving the right hand free to eat. Sitting in such a way, a man's head was literally in the breast of the person reclining to his left. Jesus would be sitting in the place of the host at the center of the single side of the table. The disciple whom Jesus loved must have been sitting on his right, for as he leaned on his elbow at the table, his head was in Jesus' breast. The disciple whom Jesus loved is never named in the Gospel of John. Some thought that he was Lazarus, for Jesus loved Lazarus, that from John 11:36. Some thought that he might have been the rich young ruler, for Jesus loved him too, that from Mark 10, verse 21. But the general opinion has always been that the beloved disciple was none other than John himself. And we may well believe that. But it is the place of Judas that is of special interest to us. It's quite clear that Jesus could speak to him privately without the others overhearing. If that is so, there's only one other place Judas could have been occupying. He must have been on Jesus' left. Just as John's head was in Jesus' breast, Jesus' head was in Judas' breast. The revealing thing is that the place on the left of the host was the place of highest honor, kept for the most intimate friend. When that meal began, Jesus must have said to Judas, "Judas, come and sit beside me tonight. I want to talk to you." Inviting Judas to that seat was an appeal. But there's more. For the host to offer the guest a special morsel from his dish was again a sign of special friendship. When Boaz wished to honor Ruth, he asked her to come and dip bread into his wine. That from Ruth 2, verse 14. When Jesus handed the morsel to Judas, it was a mark of special affection. That shows that Jesus was in the habit of doing this, so nothing was deemed unusual. Judas must have always been picked out for special affection. But there is tragedy here. Again and again, Jesus appealed to that dark heart, and again, Judas remained unmoved. So this tragedy played itself out to the end. Again and again, Jesus showed affection to Judas. And again, Jesus tried to save him from what he was planning to do. Then quite suddenly, the crucial moment came. "Judas," he said, "hurry on and do what you propose to do." There was no point in further delay. If it was to be done, it was better done quickly. Still, the disciples did not see. They thought Judas was being dispatched to make arrangements for the feast. Now, it was the time when people gave to the poor. The disciples thought that Jesus was sending Judas out to give the usual present to the poor, so that they too would be able to celebrate the Passover. But when Judas received the morsel, the devil entered into him. It's a terrible thing that what was meant to be love's appeal became hate's dynamic. And that is what the devil can do. He can take the loveliest things and twist them. We must be on the watch so that in our lives the devil never warps the lovely things until he can use them for his own purpose. Judas went out, and it was night. Now, John has a way of using words in the most pregnant way. It was night, but there's another night to which he refers, and that is darkness. It is night when people go from Christ to follow their own purposes, and it is night when people listen to the call of evil rather than the summons of love. It is night when hate puts out the light of love. It is night when people turn their backs on Jesus. If we submit ourselves to Christ, we walk in the light. If we turn our backs on him, we go into the darkness. May God give us the wisdom to choose the light, for in the dark, people always lose their way. Thanks for joining me today. God bless each and every one of you.